And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Guru Shabad Singh Khalsa, who had a near-death-like experience. Guru Shabad, thank you for joining me and welcome.
My pleasure. I'm a fan of the show. I've been watching a lot of your videos and happy to be here. It's great.
Well, Guru Shabad, let's start with how you had this experience and go from there.
I joined a yoga ashram in 1976, and our program was you get up at 3:30 in the morning, take a cold shower, you meditate with the ashram members all together. We did a 30-minute prayer type thing, half hour of yoga, an hour of meditation with mantra, and we'd have a little Sikh thing at the end of it for about 25 minutes. So that was the standard program.
Let me stop you for 1 second. When you say you joined an ashram, you basically went to this place and lived there, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of the old school ashrams. There was a teacher training course. I joined the teacher training course. It was a 40-day live in the ashram experience, and I decided I liked it and I'm going to stick on with it. Actually, about 20 days in, I decided I didn't like it and I was going to leave. And I was convinced, finish it out and then leave. And I finished it out and I ended up staying for the next 50 years. So, so we had this pretty rigorous morning program called sadhana, but I was inspired to do more. And I decided to get up at 2 in the morning instead of 3:30. Do an extra hour and a half of meditating before we even began our group sadhana. Then I'd go to sleep afterwards for maybe half an hour, get up, do my day, the whole thing. But the thing that really changed for me was in the evening, I did a thing called Satkriya, which is a pretty difficult thing. You sit on your heels, you put your arms up, straight up, palms together. You focus at your third eye and you pump your navel and you say, Sat Nam, Sat Nam, Sat Nam. It's difficult, big sweated out type thing. And when it's done, you do what's called a layout. You just completely relax and you lay down on your back and just completely relax. But something started to happen to me as a result of all of this stuff I did in the morning. But the Satkriya in the evening seemed to be the thing that pushed me over the top. So I can't say that it was just Satkriya. I think it was just a combination of all of it. What was happening was I would fall asleep immediately because I was so tired from the day's activities and early morning get up. And I started to kind of have a sense of flying around in a dream type thing. But it wasn't just a dream because I had it every night. So my experience was repetitive and I kept having this sense of flying around in my spirit, in my soul. And then I'd wake up and the experience was so real that I still had it in me when I woke up. Like, wow, I still feel kind of this floating sensation. So it's having that kind of stuff regularly. And I had done this Satkriya thing for 120 days. But within the first 40 days, I was having all of these experiences pretty consistently. And I would have different levels of that. And it was a growing experience going through it all. But then one morning, the big one happened where I got done with my morning program and I was exhausted. I was tired. I'm getting ready for college to go to school that day. I needed to rest for a bit. So I went to lay down on my bed and I laid down and I closed my eyes and magic happened. So it felt as if, as an analogy, that I had prongs on my feet stuck into the wall and I'm being engulfed with ecstasy. But it was a buzzing like, and it was overwhelming. And I was absolutely in ecstasy. And it was as if every cell of my body was ignited in an absolute bliss. But the experience was not just an experience, but this is what I've always experienced actually as a soul. That's what the existence is and always has been that since my soul was created. So it's like, oh boy, okay, so this is different. And I thought it's so powerful that if I let this go, I'm not coming back. And it was emerging into the one infinite one. And I thought, I won't come back. So I opened my eyes and the energy completely stopped. It's right back here, like you and I are talking. All the energy is completely gone. I said, okay, close your eyes again. I closed my eyes, right back to that place, buzzing with ecstasy and merging in the oneness of the universe. And I thought, okay, in this lifestyle that I live, we have mantras that we use. One of them is for protection. I thought, I think I'll chant this mantra. I feel like I need some protection so I don't leave for forever. And I chant the mantra and I close my eyes and I go right back to that infinite place. And I open my eyes and it stopped again. I said, okay, I don't feel like this is going to do it for me. And I've got a spiritual teacher named Yogi Bhajan. And I thought, okay, he's a master yogi. He knows how to control things like this. And I called on him and I said, I want to have this experience, but I don't think I'm going to come back if I do it, if I go through with it. And my eyes are open. I'm sitting there and I feel his presence before me. I didn't see him, but I just felt his presence there. Explained the situation. I said, here's what I'm doing. I want to have this experience. At the same time, I don't think I'm going to come back. And his voice says to me, go ahead, I've got you covered. Right, awesome. So then I could just completely relax. I was very close to my teacher and I knew that it would work. So I closed my eyes and I went back to this ecstasy, except now I'm relaxing. I'm letting all of it happen to me. Very bright light. And I noticed that this is God. And it was a very kind of a slow moving energy, just moving through my space. And the energy was male energy. I said, well, I'll be the creator of the universe is a male energy. Male energy creates everything. It's the one infinite God. There's no other. And I see him and I am him. And we have mantras in our organization. And one of the mantras is Unsung Waheguru. And that means in every limb of my body, I'm in ecstasy. And I thought of that mantra and I thought, that's not just a mantra, that's actual reality. In every limb of my body, I'm in complete ecstasy. So, and I'm also feeling this, that I am one with him. I'm my soul and my soul's a part of the big picture, and that's what it is. Then it shifted to, I'm getting embraced. And the embrace is from a female energy. And it is like the greatest mother that has ever lived or existed. And I'm in absolute rapture with love. And the love was perfect, and it was infinite in quality, and it's the only love that has ever existed. It is love as love is in its purest form. So beautiful embrace from a female energy. I had seen God. Now he presented himself as love. And then it shifted into me and my soul, and I start lifting up. And I'm in this white gold light, and then I come up against a band of blue ether, like a rainbow, and there's layers of light. And the first blue ether was a sky blue ether. And I'm floating up through this ether, and the ecstasy that I was in was only getting deeper and better. And I'm floating in an upward motion. I would say the band was 15 to 20 feet wide, and I'm slowly just penetrating through that sky blue ether. Then I come across another ether, which is a royal blue ether, and I start floating upward through that blue ether. That goes on, and my ecstasy gets even deeper than it was before. And then I come to a very dark purple, almost black, but not black, a deep, deep purple. And that was even more ecstatic. It's like you can't describe how blissful the situation is. So after I'm floating through that, my head pops up out of these ethers, and I'm into a new world. And it's a bright light that's so bright, I should not have been able to look at it. It was way brighter than my eyes could ever look at. But you accept it, and as you look at it, the bliss gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm standing at what I describe as heaven. It's an infinite sky. I'm in it. I'm looking at it. It's infinite in scope. There's no end. There's no beginning. And it's as bright as can be. And I thought, not that I'm looking at a sky, but that sky is me too. I am everything there is. So this is God, this is the sky, and I'm in it. As I get ready to basically go out and explore this infinite universe, I suddenly felt a presence of my own personal self, and there was something around my waist, and it was tugging at me. And I thought, what's happening? And it was disrupting this bliss and ecstasy that I was in. And it wouldn't let go. And I thought, oh, it's Yogi Bhajan. He's protecting me, and he's now going to pull me back into my body. And it was very blatant. It was very clear. There's no question about it. Okay, now you're done, and you are now coming back into your body. So I had that kind of a reversal of now falling back down into my body. It kind of felt like it was kind of an oval type. My soul's coming down and going to land in this body, which is laying on my bed. And boom, I landed back in my body. And all of the bliss, the ecstasy, all of that ended instantly. And the first sensation was the absolute heaviness of gravity. It's like, oh God, I'm back in this body. Man, this is heavy, heavy weight that we carry around in our bodies. We just get used to. We're not, But that was my first experience. And I think the first thing I did after that was I was engaged to my fiance, and I called, first person I called was her to say, you will not believe what just happened to me. And I described the whole thing to her. She kind of laughed it off a little bit. But so that's the only time I've gone that far. And that was the experience. And when I've heard all of your podcasts on near-death experiences, they're all the similar story. My entry was different. I didn't die. Now, by the way, it is possible because they describe like different levels of samadhi in yoga, science of yoga. And there's Maha Samadhi, which is the ultimate samadhi, which is you merge into the oneness of the creator. And that is exactly what I did. So that's the experience I had. And it was from going from me and my body to the infinite world was just me closing my eyes. So I was extremely aware of me and myself, and I would open my eyes and it all would stop. And I did that 3 or 4 times just to kind of test, is this what's happening here? So, but to hear the descriptions of all your NDE people, it's the same experience, and it's merging in that oneness of the infinite creation and infinite possibilities and expansion.
Thank you for sharing your experience with us. If we go back towards the beginning, you said that you were communicating with Yogi Bhajan, but I don't think he was there with you. How were you doing that?
His presence was as much there as him being in the room.
So what do you mean by that?
I mean that physically was he there? No, but his spirit and his presence was there as if he were right there in front of me.
So you kind of like meditated in a way to communicate with him, or did you call him on the phone and say, hey, I'm going to do this?
No, he just spoke to me, and because I was just right on the edge of the infinite world and this world, I was extremely sensitive to whatever was happening to me. So the fact that I could say, I need your help, he showed up energetically.
Okay.
And I spoke to him.
All right.
And the experience happened the way it happened with him pulling me back down is, pretty telling.
Did you ever have a physical conversation with him after all of this and go and talk about it?
I didn't about that, but he did things differently than most of us. He taught how he taught, and he was going to do what he does. Maybe 3 years later, I was in Espanola, New Mexico at a program. He drives up in his car. He gets out. I open his door. He looks at me and he says, "You've had the experience of God." Golly, said, and he, I'm sure, sees it in my aura and all that kind of stuff. So, and I heard from somebody that a comment was made, and I don't know if it was that day, but a comment was made by him like he took his son to God and never said who it was, none of that stuff. And somebody made a comment like, I remember him saying that to us in some setting.
You said that you repeated this experience a couple times, right? Do you feel like it's something that is repeatable anytime you want to do it?
I do believe it. It takes a lot of work. It's not an hour of meditating a day. First of all, everyone's going to be different. For me specifically, my program was 5 hours of yoga and meditation a day. That's what it took for me. I'm not saying that's the way to do it. I'm saying that's how it worked for me. And the Sat Kriya thing, that was the one that took me, I think, over the top. And it's a navel pumping thing, which gets energy going in ways that other things don't. So that was key for me. And I definitely would not say this is how you do it, but I will definitely say this is how it worked for me. And it was a real commitment to do it. I had no goal in mind. It wasn't like I said, I want to leave my body and I'm going to do all this yoga. I was just an inspired young guy who had big dreams and possibilities going on. And I just committed myself to doing lots and lots of yoga and meditation. And as a result of that, this happened.
One thing I find interesting is that you had levels of bliss. Like you would think there would just be one bliss, but then as you moved up, it became even more bliss.
There's a lady named Barbara Martin, and I love this lady. She's great. Barbara Martin. She's got some good books, and one of her books is about the journey of the soul, and her stuff is just amazing. She describes all of these different things, and when you get to the heavenly realms, everything is so perfect that the only thing that remains is to perfect perfection. And I feel like that's what happened to me, where I was perfect. It was just getting more perfect, and you can't get more perfect, but somehow you do get more perfect. By the way, worth mentioning is I learned later after my big experience that the way the yogis describe it is there are blue ethers that hold the soul on earth. So those three ethers that I penetrated is the energy that keeps our souls in our bodies on earth. And once you penetrate past through those ethers, you are then back in that infinite world. So that's what the state of samadhi does. It penetrates through those three ethers. And I think there's four ethers, but my experience was three ethers. But I didn't like do the whole tunnel thing because I didn't die. So I know the tunnel's there, and I know that when we do die, we will go through that tunnel, and that's where you make choices to either reincarnate or go back into the infinite world. So, but yeah, so I had learned that by experience that that's what those ethers do. Then I read it, and I thought, well, I'll be darned. That's exactly what I did.
Not every near-death experiencer moves through a tunnel. Some,
Right.
obviously, they just go to different realms, or they're out watching their body or whatever. In your opinion, what is the tunnel and what is its purpose?
Well, what we're taught in yoga is that you do go through the tunnel at the end, and you go through the life, what the life review of your movie, a movie of your life, and you are in your supreme consciousness, and you decide, did you accomplish what you wanted to accomplish? And the process is to go through a tunnel after that review and say, are you going to go to this soft, warm, cozy place and reincarnate? Or are you going to go to the cooler, wider snow type venue, which takes you back to the infinite realms? And our teacher always says, go to the infinite realms. That's true liberation, as opposed to reincarnation. And it's very inviting. You want to go back. Your relatives are calling you. They're making it feel very warm and cozy because they also want you and need you to come back too. There's an attachment there. And our teacher says, you don't want to go there. You want to go to the snowy white, cooler, actually less attractive part of the tunnel at the end of the tunnel. And that's where decisions are made. And that's where you meet with the elders and the higher spirits, and they review your life with you, and etc. So I didn't experience that, but that's what I believe to be true.
Why do you think that some near-death experiencers do go through it and some don't see it at all?
I just think that God is so infinite, and he does things the way that he does things. And when I listen to all your NDE people, each experience is a little bit different. Some people see people, some people see evil, perfect bliss, all kinds of variations, right? So it's like there just seems to be no hard set rule about these things, although for the most part, you do die, you do review your life, you do go through a tunnel, and then you go from there.
It sounds like what you were instructed was to go to the light and not be immediately returned back, or not immediately go through reincarnation. Is that correct?
I just think that, I don't know if I can answer that. The Kundalini yoga is just so powerful. I was always told it was powerful. I just didn't know how powerful it was. And it just opens you up. And you want to have a connection to a teacher when it opens you up that much, because it's an infinite possibility out there. And when you don't have an experience with it, you need some assistance. And I think that's exactly what happened to me. Why my experience was that, I don't know. But it was amazing to instantly be connected to the infinite creator. And I'm just some dude from SoCal who used to live a regular life. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so what's the difference? Kundalini yoga. It just opened me up to that experience.
Do you think that if Yogi Bhajan wasn't assisting you, you would have kept going?
I think so. Yeah. It was so powerful, and you don't have any control over it. It just is what it is. And all of a sudden, from me being who I am, I'm now merged in the infinite, and that's a place I'm not familiar with. But it was so powerful and overwhelming that it's like, there would be no reason to come back. What's the point? But that comes down to, I've got a spiritual teacher. We had a destiny together. I had work to do. I had a marriage to be involved in, a son to have, a business to start, build a yoga community worldwide. I feel like that's probably more important than the experience, was to give all of these people around the world an experience too. That's more important than my own personal experience. And by me living that life and helping in my ways him build his thing, I played a lot of music for him, recorded a lot of music, a lot of mantra stuff that inspired people to want to do yoga and meditate more and that kind of stuff. So I played a role in it. And I think that turned out for me to be more important than even my own personal experience. But I'm happy for it because now I know what's to come and what the purpose of things is and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Do you think there's an end point to reincarnating here and you can go to some other realm?
I do. And in that way, I really recommend Barbara Martin's book about the spiritual journey of the soul. She just takes it from the beginning to actually the end. And I don't want to give the end away because you need to read it yourself and see what she has to say about it. It's beautiful and it just seems very real to me. But yeah, it's a great the path of the soul is an amazing journey, like nothing else, and we all do it. We all go through it.
I know that you said everybody is different, so for them to achieve this is going to be up to the individual. But can you give my audience some practical tips for yoga and trying to achieve this?
Well, first of all, yoga is not like some exercise that's just physical and you're trying to get flexible, whatever. In Kundalini yoga, it's you use all three: the mind, the body, and the soul. And it's a balanced approach to yoga. It's very powerful. And the more you do of it, the more results you're going to get. I personally didn't have any expectation from it. I just did a lot of it. So our prescribed thing is 2.5 hours a day of meditation. That's what our teacher told us to do. I have yet to hear of anyone who had this same experience who did that program. And if you want to take it further, you need to do more. I need to do more. There may be people who can do it in 15 minutes. I don't know. So in that way, we are all different body types, all different mentalities, psychology, etc. For me, that's what it took. So if I want to do this again, I'm going to go back to what I did to get here, which is extra meditation in the morning, do the full sadhana, and get back to Sakriya. And if I did it once, I can do it again.
If somebody wanted to learn Kundalini yoga, can they do it from a website, YouTube, or should they go take a class somewhere?
Yeah, you want to take a class. Kundalini yoga is so specific that you need to learn how to do the breath of fire, the different pranayams, the different postures. It's important to have a teacher who can show you specifically how to do it. We don't like necessarily correct posturing type stuff. That's just more, you do the best you can, but you want to stick to the program as it's given. And the best way to do that is by a teacher. I started out doing the yoga manual and I thought, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I don't get breath of fire. And, there's too many subtleties to it. And as soon as I got a teacher, it was a breeze. And the thing is to just do it. Once you learn how to do it, you just do lots of it. And if you really want to get there, you just want to do lots of it. And that's what I did.
Can you tell us what the difference is between being a Sikh and being a Hindu?
Well, two different religions. Hindus, they have lots of gods, goddesses, Krishna, Vishnu, Shiva, etc. And our philosophy is just one God created everything. And I now know that. I experienced that. There is the one God who makes all things, and that's what we do. And our Guru Nanak, who started Sikhism, he said, if you chant the name of God, mantra, that's what does it. That's what makes you one with the universal creator. And it does work, and it will work. We also do yoga, and it's a good balance for the person who works and lives and has a family and etc. It's a balanced lifestyle. So Hindu, it's great. It's awesome. Sadhguru, have you heard of him? You probably have.
Yes.
Yeah, he's just awesome. And of course, he's a Hindu guy and he's a very powerful, liberated guy. And his experience is he went all the way there too. Except people like him, they like live in both worlds, right? They operate and they know how to use the energy from the etheric world and can connect to it constantly and bring that energy back into the earth realms. And so in that way, they're just beams of light for all of us who are, learning our way through this world.
What is the name of God that you chant?
A lot of different names. Sat means truth. Nam means name. That's one we use. Sat Nam. Ik Onkar means there's one creator who created everything. Lots of different mantras, all based in technology called Nod Yoga. This the yoga of sound. And you said earlier about your taking a yoga class that there's meridians in the mouth. They're stimulated in a certain pattern that stimulate the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and that's where all the magic happens. It's all a functional brain thing that opens you up to the infinite realm, and it happens within the brain with the pituitary. So yeah, a chant is what gets you to that place.
The people who practice Ekankar chant or sing Hu, which I think they believe is an ancient word for God. Do you use that word?
We don't. Ours is based in a language called Gurmukhi, which means from the mouth of the Guru. And we chant those names, but they all work. And it's just different strokes for different folks. Christians do it one way, and Hindus do it a different way, and Muslims do it a different way. And as a Sikh, we respect all of those religions. We know that they do take you there. I just practice what I practice, and that's what I teach.
Being a person who practices Sikhism, you don't have to become like a monk, like you have to stay celibate and renounce everything and live that type of life, right?
No, in fact, it's the opposite. It's the life of a householder, and we believe in a balance of living fully in this world and in this life. But you want to be conscious of the whole purpose is you came down here for the purpose of learning, and in our case, we're yoga teachers, and that's our destiny in our group is to be teachers of Kundalini yoga. And that also leads us to Sikhism. And so that's just the way that we do it.
Before we started, I was talking to Gersh about how I took a class from a Sikh many, many years ago. And I think what he told me is the reason why Sikhs don't cut their hair is because their hair is like antennas for energy. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we wear the turban to not only keep the hair up, but it also hits some meridian points here. And it just contains the energy at the crown chakra. So it's a steadier energy for meditating.
Some people would say that you have to be careful doing the Kundalini experience because sometimes it can spin you off in a bad direction. Is that correct?
I don't believe it. I think that you do want to learn it from a teacher, and you do want to connect to the master who teaches this stuff, because you do want a connection on that side. In fact, who said it well was Sadhguru. I heard him give a quote. He said, Kundalini yoga is the most powerful yoga on the planet, and it's also the most dangerous. And he clarified it by saying, if you don't have a connection to somebody, and he meant a teacher, then you're going to find yourself on the edge of, like I was, the infinite cosmos, and you want to make a connection there. But to say that there's the Kundalini thing about it's the serpent snake, there's some kind of an evil connotation to that, which is kind of weird about like a rattlesnake or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, our teacher said, it's like a rope that's going to uncoil. It's just about an uncoiling of the Kundalini energy, which is at the base of the spine. So to say it's a serpent is completely, utterly misleading, and it's nonsense. It has to do with an uncoiling of the dormant Kundalini energy, which is your soul, and it releases you into infinite. So what's the danger of being put into absolute, complete, infinite bliss? it's wonderful. But you want to make a connection because there's things that happen out there too. It's not just bliss. Part of my development as I was going through all this stuff, the South Korea, that kind of thing, was I came across some evil stuff too. I was having like those dreams I told you about, me flying around and that kind of stuff. Well, in that same place, I had encounters with some evil things. These tall, 16-foot tall, cloaked in dark, total blackness with red evil eyes, and their only purpose was to snatch my soul. And I think when those were happening to me, there was a presence with me, and that presence was protecting me. Now, I don't know what that was. Could have been my guru, could have been my teacher, could have been God himself, but it was not going to happen. So I was protected. I know that. But there's strange things that happen, in those etheric worlds too. Again, read Barbara's book. She talks about the nether worlds, and it's just a nasty place. And you can't go through that on your own. You always are accompanied with an angel or two or three, because you're confronted with like this just evil stuff, and they protect you there, but they make you vulnerable. And it's a place where if they catch you in something evil that's still inside of you, you have to come back and reincarnate. So sounds like a pretty nasty thing, but really recommend Barbara's book. She clarifies all that stuff, and I just can't speak highly enough about her. She's awesome.
Is it possible if you're doing Kundalini yoga and it gets stuck somewhere and you don't release it all the way?
I haven't experienced that. I think you start to get into people's troubles and their own issues where everyone processes through things differently. Everyone's at a different level in their evolution. It wouldn't be related to Kundalini, though. It would be related to their own issues that they have with themselves. But it is not Kundalini. It has to do with they themselves are going through something heavy and radical, and they're not able to deal with it. They haven't dealt with it yet. But the Kundalini yoga will help under any circumstances to help you through those blocks. But there's some rocky roads in between point A and point B. And, some crazy shit can happen. And what people's experiences are what they are. But I would say there's absolutely no connection to a Kundalini experience or practice with that sort of thing. It's that person who's having a difficult time in their life with that particular thing.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the Sikh lifestyle?
Yeah. We're really into music and the name, repeating that name. But rather than sit and just meditate on it, we sing it. And Sikhs that's what they're all about. The Punjabis, the Indian Sikhs, they're not really yogis. They don't do Kundalini yoga. They are into the chanting and singing of the Naam. And they do it as a group, as the Sangat, it's called. And we have a guru. Sikhism started with Guru Nanak, and there was 10 successive gurus. And the last guru said, no more people as gurus. From now on, it's going to be our words will be our guru. It'll be our living guru from here on out. And all those poetry, their words were put together in a book called Sri Guru Granth Sahib. And that is our guru. And it's our living guru. And that's what we go to for advice and upliftment and all that. So in that way, I think it's the only religion where the actual prophets themselves were reading their words and chanting and singing their words.
Besides wearing the turban, do you have to wear any specific clothes or have a vegetarian diet?
Vegetarian diet, no, but that's controversial. We think it is. Most Punjabis would say no, that's not connected. That may be more of a yogic lifestyle. So we were always lacto-vegetarian ourselves. Punjabis, they're not that. I think more becoming that. When you get baptized as a Sikh, you wear 5 things. You wear a kutta. You keep your hair. It's called the 5 Ks. Kachera means these long shorts that you always wear. Yeah. So we all identify ourselves with that, and the turban is the one thing that makes us stand out. We have our own style of turban. I'm basically a house turban on here, but when I wear a full turban, it's a very specific Sikh looking turban. Like a guy like Sadhguru, he wears a turban, but it's a very different kind of a thing. It's a Hindu type thing, and that's how he does it. But yeah, so no, we don't drink, we don't smoke, that kind of stuff, and we live a healthy lifestyle, and we believe it's a balanced, good for you life.
Does Sikhism take in any of its information from other religions like Christianity or Buddhism?
No, it doesn't. We do believe and respect in all of them, though. You know what I mean? It's not like this way's better or whatever. We don't do that. We just follow the teachings of our guru, and it says chant the name of God and become immersed in the name of God, and that's where the soul's energy is. That's where our spirit is, and that's just kind of how we do it. Muslims, they read 5 prayers a day. Our gurus may have incorporated, could we do 5 prayers ourselves? Maybe that was incorporated from that. It was the same time. There was a big struggle between the Muslims and the Sikhs back in the day. And, maybe it was taken from that. I don't know, but we do that. But our prayers are different and the words are different and all this stuff. But a lot of similarities with all of these religions, right? It's all based in truth, and usually there's a thing or a person that we look to as our guide, and obviously for Christians it's Jesus, and for Allah, it's for the Muslims, and Hindus it's their gods and all that stuff. So yeah.
If we get back to your experience, do you feel that you are not only changed by it but transformed into something else?
I don't think I was transformed, but this happened to me 50 years ago. And it's like it happened 10 minutes ago. It's so real and was so impactful. And I do know where we go. And that changes things. If you don't know that, you don't know. You're hoping, having some faith, whatever, right? And when you do have that experience, like all your NDE people, they have been there and they know what it is, and there's no denying it. It's not like, well, did I do this? No. It's not that. It's I was there, and now I know, because it's total reality. It's not an experience. It's total reality. It is what it is, and it's never going to change, no matter what we think or do. And they say that God can do anything and everything with infinite possibility. But there's one thing he can't do. He can't create another God. So this one God that is the only thing in existence that has ever existed, that's what we are. And I experienced that. And all your NDE people experienced it too. So it is the reality. And so, okay, now I get it. Now I know. Now I got a life to live. I got money to make, child to raise, whatever, all that stuff. So yeah, but it's life changing in that there's definitely no more question marks. It's okay. Now I know what it is. Did it change my personality? No. I'm still the same guy I've always been. Communicate the same way. I guess I'm more inspired to talk about it and share it with people, but at the same time, I don't know, you got to be careful of that stuff. You can't push people too far into doing things or whatever. So I kind of, if this is the first time, by the way, I've ever shared this story publicly. I just didn't feel like I wanted to share it for some reason.
So are you saying then that we are all collectively God?
God is experiencing himself through all of us. We aren't different. We are not us. He is not him. We are all just him seeing himself as us.
A lot of people would say that there is a lot of suffering in this realm, and it would especially be apparent if they experienced the bliss that you did. Why do you think God wants to experience that?
They say that we come down into life to check our consciousness and to choose destiny over fate. So every moment we have to live here, it's all about where are you at with your consciousness in every moment that you're living here. And you know, all your NDE stories, it's always about people judging each other, all this nonsense going on. And it's like, none of it means anything. And the only thing, right? You see that a lot in your interviews. It all comes down to, did you share love? And do I share love? No. I wish I did. You know, I know that's what it is. I know that there's an infinite, unbelievable love, and I wished it would have transformed me actually in that way. It would have been fantastic to be just a truly loving individual who just gives love to everybody. That is the ultimate. I had a longtime girlfriend for 8 years, and her name was Huddy Doss, and she was an angel. Our teacher, when he first met her, he said, "You're an angel, and you come from a pot of angels." And she was just something really special. And I probably took too much of it for granted. She passed away 3 years ago. But she was just a person who really did the love thing. She was sweet and loving to everybody. And here's an example. We had a washing machine that wasn't working, and the guy was supposed to fix it. He kept delaying it, and I started getting pissed off, thinking, look, this has been like 3 weeks now. We're going to the laundromat. What's the deal with this guy? Is he coming over and fixing our washing machine? And I'm kind of, unfurled about it, whatever. And she says to me, Guru Shabad, maybe this guy's having marital problems. Maybe his son's on drugs. We don't know. All I want to do actually is make a connection to this guy. I want to get to know him and what his life's about. I heard that. I thought, you have got to be kidding me. This is an angel. And that's how an angel lives. And angels on that side are different beings as well. They do take you different places. They take you to the temples. And again, Barbara's book talks about all that stuff. And, these are very, very special people. And I was with one for 8 years, and she was just amazing. So, yeah, I think that's what we're supposed to do. And that's what we're meant to do, is to share love, because this world is a pressure cooker. We do come down here to challenge ourselves, our own consciousness. Where are we at with our consciousness? And to express a little bit of our free will to make good decisions and be loving and conscious in each of those moments. And that's what all this is all about. All the yoga, all the diet, blah, blah, blah. It's to get us to a place where we can truly be a loving being on this earth. Because you're right, it's just full of pain and misery. But that's what this world is. It is not a place of peace. And so that's what it is. It is ultimately, obviously, about love.
Well, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that?
Absolutely. That's what we do.
What's the best way to reach you?
Email, GSK, as in George, Sam, Carl, at OroWest. That's OROWest.com.
Well, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
God and me and God are one. We are only Him. He is the only thing. And let's share love with everybody and inspire people with love.
Guru Shabad, thank you for joining me, and thank you for being my guest.
It's my pleasure. It was great meeting you. And like I said, big fan of your show. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.